Alrighty. Kids, who's ready for existential crises? Me. Are you sure? We'll wait and find out, hey? So, today's episode, one I have been giddy about, thoroughly looking forward to, is the mechanism of the matrix, how law, or the legal system, is used as a system of human capital management. Alright, this will be a fun one, and this may hurt a few, okay? To begin, I'd like to start this one off with a thought experiment, okay? I'm going to ask you, what is law? And I don't mean natural law or a law of physics. I mean in the legal sense. What is law? 1, 2, 3. Well, law is policy, right? This is why we have policy enforcers, right? Police, they are a policy enforcer. What is policy? Well, it ain't justice. I can tell you that much. But more importantly, who writes this policy? Hint, hint. It ain't us. Okay, so nor is it the puppet we vote in, by the way. Vote in parentheses. Who writes policy? Well, it is, first and foremost, a selection of transnational corporations, religious lobbyist groups, foreign states interfering in other elections, cough cough, CIA, cough cough, and maybe a few others. Global think tanks, this is the big one. Things like the Council of Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, Trilateral Commission, UN, World Health Organization, all these things. Secret societies, again, in conjunction with the intelligence agencies, this provides the web that interlock all of this transnational sort of group controlling our system. You have to understand, folks, that, say, for example, the CIA, Mossad, and MI6, these are the one entity. There is no separation between them. If they make it out as if there is, this is just simply political theatre, which we'll be getting into. And if there are, say, more nefarious discussions taking place, often this will take place among secret societal group meetings, something a little more underground, if you will. Now, again, I reiterate, law is not justice, okay? Law acts, understand, we live, our democratic system, most Western countries are literally just a corporation. The organizational structure and the function of them is that of a corporation, right? So the law acts as our terms of service for this corporation that we mistake as the state. Okay? Now, you have the policy enforcers, the law enforcement, right? This acts as the administrative aspect of that, ensuring that we, the human capital, adhere to said policy, right? And so then you ask the question, wait, I thought they protect and serve the citizens. No, they protect and serve the status quo. The system itself is what they're protecting and serving. Let's run through another thought experiment, right? So, if you have, say you're out the back of a cafe, there are 3 tables there. One person decides to smoke a joint. Another one, I'm in Australia by the way, so cigarettes are particularly expensive here, and the majority of cigarettes smoked here are of black market origin, right? Then you have someone smoking one of these black market cigarettes, and then another person smoking a black market vape, and then maybe a 17-year-old kid smoking a legal cigarette. Well, what is more illegal? How does the policy enforcer discern what is more, this is, they're abstractions, right? I'll get into what law actually is in a minute. But I do want to make a real point here. People will scream and shout, but I have rights, free speech in the amendment. Even still, these rights are not natural by birthright or natural law. This is still somebody telling you what's right or wrong. Now, ultimately, this is what law is. Okay, so law, at at its most initial inception, is somebody's idea that isn't you of what is right and wrong. Okay? Now, add total corruption through agendas of these policy makers, this group, the cabal, we will call them, then you start to question, okay, yeah, do I really feel that's right or wrong? Am I being told to feel what is right and what is wrong? Now, depending on your country, your legal system, the laws, might be hundreds, maybe whatever, ancient in the scheme of things. Now, over time, we don't refine these laws. We don't make them more efficient and a simpler mechanism. No. We convolute the shit out of them. We add to them. Add encyclopedias worth of fine print in legalese. I mean, the legal system has its own terminology for things and its own language, essentially. So it creates this super complex, convoluted, I mean, even crossing a state line, if you're in the same country, there could be totally different laws. It becomes so confusing that the layman, the perpetrator, that being us, has no way to possibly navigate this system. And it creates this diaspora, this disparity between the policy makers and the policy adherers, right? Now, what else does this open up? Well, say we do happen to cross a line, this abstraction that these policy makers set. Well, it's so confusing. It is so scary. What if I end up going to jail? We better hire an interpreter for this, right? That being a lawyer. What does that do? Well, it commodifies justice itself. The more you pay for a better lawyer, the more justice you get. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so these laws are literally just meant to keep us in line, or don't want so-and-so saying this, we better, chuck this at him. It is a mechanism of control. All right? Now, how this whole system kind of operates, this is not a recent thing. This is centuries, if not millennia of itself, a continuation of the Roman Empire, and we'll get to that. But this control system, this draconian sort of patriarch, hierarchical kind of system we find ourselves in, is what we call the long con. All right? Now, this might all be a little bit uncomfortable to hear, and it should be. I mean, it's mortifying. But one thing that may assist you in being able to transcend the nitty-gritty or the icky feeling of this is just to appreciate the genius in the system. I mean, it is fucking brilliant. Evil, yes. And I define good and evil how? Well, good is well-intended, evil is maliciously intended. It's as simple as that. No religion, no political, ideological bias comes into it. You transcend all that. Okay, right and wrong is purely intention. All right, but this long con, the brilliance of it is once you're able to understand we are all brainwashed. We 100%, we are programmed, okay? That's difficult for some people to accept. It is fact. I mean, if these truths are kind of making you feel uncomfortable, that says everything, okay? But this long con, once you are able to have a generation or two of your brainwashees then perpetuate the brainwashing, you have a self-fulfilling kind of mechanism. You just need to stay back, pull a few strings. These guys are the ventriloquists to us, the puppets, okay? They pull strings at the highest level and let the useful idiots, that would be this middle management, this would be bureaucrats, politicians, all this sort of thing, law enforcement, military, this middle management that maintains this control system without actually understanding what they are doing, because they themselves are victims. Literally, they have been brainwashed themselves, and they then, in good intent, start brainwashing the generations below them. It's not to say these people are poorly intended. It's that they've been brainwashed themselves and they're just sharing what they feel is right. I mean, if we go back to the first episode of this series, we touched on the astrotheologian aspect of scripture and religion. Most pastors aren't maliciously propagating this idea of a guy getting crucified on a cross. No, they actually believe this, but they've been programmed themselves. Okay? So this middle management system is essentially the immune system of the system itself, okay? It protects the system without them knowing what they're protecting, you see? Now, and many people will resonate with this, the program itself, it's very simple. You know, it's just what you do, right? You go to school, you go to uni, maybe, I didn't. You get a job, you take on some debt, you get another job, a better job, making more money, an abstraction. You take on more debt with a home loan, you know, you retire, you watch 24-hour cable news, die, whatever. Rinse and repeat. I mean, it's disgusting. It really is. It is so far from our true nature, but we're totally ignorant to it. We're oblivious that this is even, you know, because that's just what you do. Everyone else is doing it, so that's what you do, right? The media, by the way, plays a huge role in this. Probably the most effective, useful idiots out a lot is just pushing these ideas straight in at dinner time. People not even thinking, they're just absorbing. Very subversive. For those of you familiar with John McAfee, who mysteriously died for probably saying too much, look up his video on neuro-linguistic programming and see if it gets you. It did me. I figured out how it works. But this is how subtle, subversive, and effective this system really is. Now, what that leads us to is us being prisoners of our own perception. Okay? We are stuck in what our thoughts consider safe boundaries. These are actually prisons of thoughts that we've been programmed into. Now, you have to understand the people propagating these ideas and programming us into them have a totally separate, totally different, novel education system. Completely, like, ancient education system. True education. They use it through malicious intent. I touched on this last episode. And what they essentially do is, in order to maintain this control system, this monopolized grip on the world, they hide the truth in plain sight. In their belief system, I'm not saying I agree with it, but in their belief system, this morally absolves them of karmic debt, you see. So if they're honest, often most of the time they are, which I'll demonstrate, but they'll hide it under a whole heap of lies. So long as they've at least told the truth, in their mind, they are absolved of any ill conscience, any karmic debt. Now, for those familiar with David Icke's work, this is exactly what he terms a problem, reaction, solution. And as grotesque as it is, it's also genius. And we'll see this, okay? And their other view of the masses is, if we are dumb enough to miss it, if we are dumb enough to enslave ourselves, and this is what I mean, the brainwashees then becoming the brainwashers, if we're dumb enough to fall for that, then it's more fool us. So again, this sounds harsh, but the only way we can actually transcend this is through awareness, because once you're aware to it, it no longer has its effect on you. You know, you see straight through it. All right? 911 emergency, how can I help? See, that was not a coincidental date, folks. This has been in the making, it was in the making, for a long while. This was a major plan, part of the plan for this global cabal. Now, obviously, I'm referencing September 11th, the Twin Towers. Here you'll see a few shots of familiar movies, TV shows, which all have this truth hitting in plain sight. And you might say, oh, that's just a coincidence. If that's what you choose to believe, that's absolutely fine. The Matrix. I mean, if there was a more appropriate movie to encode this in, that was probably it. You can see Neo, the one, his expiry date on the passport is 11th of September. Now, Monsters Inc., top left, this came out the month of, or the month after 9/11. Stand By, the clock, 9/11. I mean, we got Terminator up there. This stuff it's just beyond words. It is madness. And there is a lot more of this subversive symbolism in plenty of other... I won't get into Disney now. I won't get into it now. I'll save it for another day. But this is common practice, right? Now, found in another one on the right. I mean, that was in 97. This is not coincidence, folks. I mean, on the left, many will be familiar with this painting found in Mr. Epstein's New York palace. I mean, seriously, 2 Jenga towers and 2 paper planes. Wake up, folks. Now, so why? What are they doing? And this goes for any false flag, anything along these lines, what does it achieve? But let's go through 9/11 as an example. War. What is it? Anyway. First and foremost, actually not, it's all kind of equal in its scope. What is war good for? A lot. So, acquisition and destruction of knowledge or technology. Now, in this 9/11 example, specifically Building 7 housed the Securities Exchange, the SEC. The amount of fraudulent financial records and God knows what housed in that building is unfathomable. The day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld, 2-time Secretary of Defense, might I add, announced that $2.3 trillion was missing from the Pentagon budget. A day before a plane crashed into it, right? And just on that, for any debunkers out there, I'd love you to comment below and explain to me how this could be. How do 2 stainless steel Rolls-Royce jet engines from a Boeing 787 completely incinerate, dissolve, no evidence of, and yet passport remains are still intact? Can someone explain that to me? Can someone, an engineer perhaps, explain to me how the Building 7's controlled demolition wasn't a controlled demolition? Please? Now, what else? Resources, obviously, and we'll touch on Iraq in a second. Also, on the acquisition and destruction of knowledge, in regards to the Iraq invasion under the guise of weapons of mass destruction, isn't it odd that one of the first things that happened with that insurgence was the Baghdad Museum got completely ransacked? An organized, well-planned, as in with intelligence knowing where certain items were. Understand Iraq as well is ex-Babylon. Babylon is so significant in ancient times, in religious texts, and especially within this Illuminati bloodline kind of conspiracy. Babylon is so revered and so powerful and so important to these people because this is essentially the birthplace of modern civilization, and there is a lot of secret wisdom and information to be disguised, such as, I don't know, I mean, if anyone's touched into the Nephilim idea, these giants, the Afghani Kandahar giants, is a great conspiracy that came out of that war. And obviously you see in Malta and Sardinia and all over North America, the Smithsonian Museum covering up these gigantic skeletons that clearly were a thing. They existed. Well, why are they covering them up? Who knows? Resources, of course, oil, so on and so forth. Money. Howard Lutnick, exposed liar in regarding to the Epstein files and current Commerce Secretary, Well, his business, Cantor Fitzgerald, was actually located in one of the towers and received, I put a very conservative estimate here, well over $100 million. Not to mention whoever the fellow was that took out the insurance on the building just a little while prior. Howard Lutnick also, might I add, he just happened to have to take his kid to school that one day. He'd never done that before, but just this one day. Coincidence, right? Weapons testing and sales. Well, I mean, we see this is prevalent, unfortunately, in Gaza at the moment, of Palantir contributing to these new AI systems in weaponry. I mean, war is just, you'll see down the bottom, it's a theatre of war. Political theatre. The theatre of war. What is Earth? It is theatre. Okay? So, I mean, you can go back. I mean, Vietnam, there was no threat. These places are used to, generate money, drug trafficking, human trafficking. The human trafficking coming out of Ukraine at the moment is just abysmal. And why is that? I mean, the Haiti earthquake, that wasn't war, but they use these events where there is destruction of evidence and new kind of routes opened up to act as a guise for all this nefarious behavior, right? Fear, terror. Obviously, fear is one of the oldest forms of control in existence. Terror, who's it coming from? It's just terror full stop. By providing this, it keeps us in a low vibrational energy, okay? Division. It creates this idea of the other. Obviously in 9/11, I mean, there was Islamophobia going for a good 15 years. Oh, it's got to be all them, this, that, and the other. It's got to be the Muslims. Oh, I mean, at the moment, it's all the Jews, apparently. Well, ask yourself this. How do you define a Muslim? How do you define a Jew? It's not... I mean, anti-Semitism. Semitism is a language. It was a language which offshot into Phoenician, Canaanite, Babylonian, Akkadian. That includes Arabic. So if you're anti-Semitic, like, what? That doesn't make sense. And how do you define a Jew? How do you define a Muslim? How do you define a Christian? I mean, the Sufis, I mean, they're actually beautiful people. They're the mystic ones and don't have much beef. But say the Shia and the Sunnis, they despise each other more than them and others. I mean, go to Ireland. The Catholics and the Protestants. The internal is 10 times worse than the external. Because it always is an internal battle. But I don't mean to go down that rabbit hole just now. You know, within the Jews, okay, are you Kabbalists? Are you Chabad Leibovitz? Are you ultra-Orthodox? Are you non-practicing Jew? If I married a Jewish girl tomorrow, does that make me a Jew in your definition? Like, define your words, people. People just say shit without even realize, like, they don't think about these things, you know. But that gets programmed into us, right? So that is the idea of division, because if you're divided, you're distracted, right? And they can keep pulling strings. It's craziness. How fun is this? So I really reiterate this point. In order to overcome this absolute quagmire we found ourselves in, because we're in a shithole, clearly, we need to, get over ourselves, right? First, get over yourself. You're not that important. We're all equal. We are just a neuron in the scheme of Earth, and then again on the scheme of the cosmos. Like, really, we are both nothing and everything. So the sooner you get that through your head, the better. In order to get to that frame of mind, what must we do? Well, we transcend this division so we can think clearly, coherently, work together. Why compete when you can collaborate, right? And just see this for what it is. It isn't one religion. It isn't one people's. It isn't any one that. It isn't some other. It's just a group of mostly insecure men, but it's poorly intended people maliciously intended people, or there's well-intended people, and there's a spectrum in between. It's nuanced. But understand, it isn't what they practice or what they believe. They're just not good people. All right? So enough with the labels, because that is what they are. That is what they're provoking. That's what they want from us. They want us to blame the other. You are it. You are a universe experiencing man. You are that as well. So get over that. All right? These people are just fucking pricks. A nice little line I wrote. I got a little confusion the other day. Wisdom is born of truth. Truth born in love. Ignorance is born of deception, and deception of fear. This is true, folks. Now, there's also one nice little analogy that I'd like to apply to the current schema of the world, right? The world is in the midst of a toxic relationship that is with the system that operates us, okay? If you apply that, it's in the midst of a bad breakup, rather, akin to a toxic relationship. So if anyone can resonate with this, if they've been in a terrible relationship, not serving anyone, but, you know, because you're dependent on the other person's love, no, I'll get onto this in a little bit, but because you're dependent on them and you don't love yourself, that, you know, you're dependent on their love for you, you just kind of push through it. But that is just not valuing yourself. That is all that is. So the world right now is at the point where that toxic relationship, you'd have found out they cheated. Or they've done something horrible, right? And it's beyond the point of forgiveness or accepting that as what you want in your life. Okay, that is where the world is at right now. We're waking up to this idea that we have this... I won't get into it now, but you know what I'm talking about. Just dastardly people that have worked their way up into a position of power over the course of centuries, if not millennia, and they're at their absolute last end, okay? It's actually an apt time for this as well, might I add, considering we've just come to the end of what is considered a great Mayan year, a 25,920 year cycle, out of the age of Pisces, which by the way is two fish opposing each other, representing duality, separation, the Maya, into Aquarius, which is a feminine wisdom-bearing symbol. We are entering into a new golden age. So this is just cyclical at the end of the day. All right? Now, that last little thing, if people don't like these truths, if you can't handle the truth, and I highly encourage everyone to speak truth to power, just speak their own truth regardless, doesn't matter whether it's true power or not. If someone's offended by something that's true, that's their problem, that isn't you. Irrespective of how uncomfortable that truth may be, that is not your problem. So just be honest, right? Not just with them, with yourself, more importantly. All right. What is authority? This is the fun one. So a dictatorship. I mean, by the way, I am dictating to you right now. Dictating just means orating or speaking. But in the respect that we understand a dictator, the same way we understand an authoritarian, right? What is an authoritarian? Well, it is an authority. Okay, well, what is an authority? An authority is an author. Okay? I note, history is only ever written by the winner. Mussolini, Lenin, Mao, Hitler, and Churchill all had a common trait in that they were journalists. They were authors before rising to power. They were their own grand narrators. We are too. You can write your own reality. I won't get into all this magic business right now, but understand you are in control of your own subjective experience of reality through volition, conviction, will, and knowing. What your subjective experience of reality is a direct reflection of your internal belief system. All right? So understand the actual true power that you have within you, okay? We all have it. Okay, so where does this end up? What's the pointy end here? You know, we mentioned, I mean, it's certainly kind of in vogue at the moment. Oh, it's all Israel, or it's all whatever. I really want to clear something up there, by the way. And yes, what is power? Money is power for sure, but you got to know how to use money. And someone invented money. All right. So knowledge is the ultimate power. At some point, I mean, you ask a lottery winner, right? I noted there. The money doesn't mean anything. It's A, how you use it. B, understanding how to make it on a consistent basis. And then how to use it to achieve or further this agenda. Okay? By the way, total tangent and apologies. Another idea akin to 9/11, and that these are truly false flag attacks, okay? I want to use COVID as a very quick example. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of Britain, in 2019 bought £500 million worth of Moderna stock when they had 19 staff, whose wife, by the way, her father, the second richest man in India, owns Infosys, the current technology company rolling out the digital ID. So what is their end game? It's digitalizing our soul, but I digress. I just thought that might be interesting. Now, even more interesting again. Okay, well, who is running the show? All roads lead to Rome. Always has and always will be. Well, won't always will be. It always has been, though, at least in our recent memory. We are living in the modern Roman Empire. It never fell. The Catholic Church is the modern Roman Empire. And you go, oh, but there are all these conflicting interests, but they don't like them and they don't agree with them. You have to understand the religion and all this ideology is purely a mask. It is a guise. I mean, the Bushes were friends with the Bin Ladens. Bin Laden was a Saudi oligarch. What, you actually think he's dead? The same way Epstein's dead? The same way Hitler died in World War II? Don't mean to get too tinfoil hatty, but seriously, wake up, folks. Now, a fun little fact again. So the Holy See, the Vatican, right? So there is law of the land, which is what our rights are given to us by. Wherever you're born, there are there's a legal system in place with specific laws for your part of the land. But 70% of the world is ocean, right? It's water. Now, money, though it doesn't rule the world, it certainly helps. Trade and commerce doesn't fall under law of the land. It falls under what's called maritime admiralty law, which is ruled by who? The Holy See, right? 1857, I believe that was made official. Obviously, you can imagine the seafaring trade of the old Venetians and what have you. But the seas are ruled by the Vatican in a legal sense, right? So money, that is why it is currency, liquidity. You have cash flow. Oh, Jim, you're managing to keep your head above water. That's pretty fun, huh? All right, so just to answer the elephant in the room, because everywhere you look online, I mean, it is getting to the point of anti-Semitic, in the sense that most people define it by. I should know. Okay, well, what is Israel? Well, the word Israel is Isis, Ra, and El. These are three Egyptian gods. Okay, who set up Israel? Well, the Brits, in conjunction with the Americans. They built it and funded it. Okay, well, who rules the Brits and the Americans? Well, that would be the Vatican at the highest level. Okay, now just to prove that, and I'll get to some images in a second, but I just want to really reiterate this idea that at the highest level, these people that claim to be this religion, religion doesn't exist to them. Because religion isn't a thing. There's only one universal truth in this spirituality. All these other doctrines are philosophy. Okay, but what you're taught as religion is bullshit. It's just a control mechanism and a business. Okay? So, probably the most famous Jewish family in the world today, and the source of much speculation online would be the Rothschilds, right? Well, God, you'd think they must hate Nazis, right? Well, for any fans of Stanley Kubrick and his Eyes Wide Shut, that was based off the 1972 Surrealist Ball. You should look up some photos of this, it's pretty whack. That the Rothschilds threw a party outside of Paris in 1972. I mean, you got to look at the photos. I should have put some in the slideshow. But who did they get to curate that whole party? Well, none other than Salvador Dali, one of the most well-renowned fascists in the world, right? Walt Disney, another very famous man of Jewish heritage. Well, he was best buddies with Wernher von Braun, the head of NASA, a famous Nazi scientist brought out during Operation Paperclip, 1948. These guys don't see the world that way. You have to understand, they live in a different reality to you and I. Most people still are prisoners of their own perception. Alright? You have to understand, these people are fucking smart. Alright? Now, so basically, if you know the name, if it's a household name, or if you know their face, they aren't the ones ruling stuff. Okay? So, I mean, this might be delving into the more speculative, conspiratorial aspect of all this. But who's really, really running the joint? Right, well, again, centered around the Vatican is the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, for lack of a better word. Now, the Orsinis, they are said to be the bloodline in which the Rothschilds and the Windsors are actually descended from. The Coloners, that would be Christopher Columbus's bloodline. I mean, for those who know of the Collins elite that are trying to add this demonic spin to UFO or UAP disclosure in the States at the moment. Colonization, colonial, this stems from this. Who wrote... I mean, we are trapped in a matrix of words that are defined for us. Who defined the words? Well, the Collins Dictionary, right? The Medicis, I'm sure many of you will be familiar with, the famous banking dynasty who have had about 3 popes. I might be wrong on that, but you understand. The Breakspears, this doesn't even escape China. The Breakspears run Macau and heavily influence China through the Vatican or through this control hierarchy, okay? Now, within the Vatican structure, we only ever just see the Pope. But more powerful still is the head of the Jesuit order. That would be the Black Pope. You have the Grey Pope, who is speculated to be Pepe Orsini. He would be referred to as the Pingar within their satanic cult. But again, this is just speculation, so I don't want to say that as fact. But then you also have things like the Knights of Malta, who are a sovereign order, they get handed passports by the Vatican, which render them diplomatically immune everywhere. And these guys are running the military in the States. I mean, these guys hold super high positions of power globally. The Club of Rome, that's in charge of all the climate control, sort of, these green tokens and what have you coming up. And it's also full of the famous mafia families, the Calabria Mafia, the Ndungata. All of this falls within this kind of Illuminati bloodline. And these bloodlines, these Nephilim bloodlines, are said to be descended by Oannes or Dagon, who you see on the right here. That is why apparently the Pope wears a fish head mitre and you have the Christian fish symbol. Now, I did explore the idea of this being symbolic of Pisces, and I'm just sharing this idea. I'm not saying I'm 100% sure or believe in this, but I'm just sharing this information, okay? I want to also, and here you go, here are the skulls of these Nephilim that descended through Egypt. And so these Nephilim, this is super interesting. So these were said, and again, nuance is required. Not all Nephilim may be bad. The same way there are good and bad humans, there's good and bad everything, right? But these were said to be these giant, cannibalistic, pale-faced, red-headed, flamboyantly dressed, essentially clowns, right? But super smart. I mean, you hear the tales of them from Easter Island in South America, and from what I gather, I mean, most of them considered them hugely benevolent, extremely wise, and a real benefit to society. They were considered gods in their own right, or demigods. And then you might have a few more ill-intended ones. So again, nuance is required, but these are the Paracas skulls that have been found. They're on exhibition all throughout South America in some museums. And these are the Nephilim, or descendants of. And you can see the pharaonic headdresses and stuff. I think that's Nefertiti, who is said to be of this same bloodline, okay? And this is what they're descended from. And so, you have the clown, or the clown daddy, the Pope, right, wearing the fish head. So, Dagon, these amphibious beings, or this amphibious god, his children, or their children, these Anunnaki and these reptilian and amphibious non-human intelligences or intradimensional beings who copulated with beautiful human women who gave birth to these giants that are being heavily covered up. They turned out to look like clowns. And who is the Pope's private army? Well, that would be the Swiss Guard, who were dressed up like clowns. Now, even more interesting still is coulrophobia. And I speak from experience. I used to have a absolutely shocking phobia, like couldn't be near a clown. I had to get my mother called to pick me up from a party when I was like 4 or 5 years old. It's one of my earliest memories, just being traumatized by this presence of a clown. And it turns out that up to 50 or 60% of the global population have an inherent phobia of clowns. It's coulrophobia. It is the highest phobia in the world, or the most common phobia in the world, above arachnophobia. Why would that be? Well, in that our DNA stores memory from the collective conscious, I propose that through traumatic experience in dealing with these old Nephilim, these ancient Nephilim, our DNA has carried this traumatic memory into our collective conscious today, thus responsible for this inherent fear of clowns. Now, I'm just going to go off on a little tangent here, just because this is fun. So, these Nephilim, they got wiped out by this flood, and I'm going to go into this in another episode. I'll do a deep dive, but I'll just quickly cover it now because I think it's really interesting and we're on the topic. So these Nephilim that got wiped off the earth because, they were no good, they were consuming too much, and these other gods, or however the great flood happened, it happened. And so they got wiped out. But because they were half angelic and half human, they were then unable to wholly reach their heavens, but then in death they also couldn't materialize, so they got stuck in what we refer to as purgatory, or the astral plane. And so what I posit these cabal, these bloodlines are doing currently, is performing black magic to allow the disembodied spirits of these Nephilim. These could be responsible for the reptilian idea, and I'll go into that in another episode because I find it fascinating and super fun to talk about. But I believe they're allowing themselves, because we are just vessels of consciousness, again, this is for another episode, but allowing these Nephilim, these cannibalistic Nephilim spirits, to embody them in exchange for power and knowledge and all of this sort of thing, okay? But that's a whole other rabbit hole, which I'll go down another time. We've touched on all this. And remember, so all this occult knowledge, so if I'm posing that the Vatican is the top of this operation, well, why are they? Well, because they've got the most knowledge, and knowledge is the power. And this occult knowledge, this esoterica stuff, this and the true history of who we are, most of it comes from Egypt, okay? Alexandria Library, one of the great wonders of the world, that got destroyed by who? The Roman Empire. Now, it is speculated that it's all burnt down to the ground. But no, these guys are too smart to just do that. Of course, it is hiding under the Vatican right now. I can guarantee you, the Vatican records are full of 10,000 years worth of our written history that we are just completely unaware of, right? We touched on all this. And just to really, so on the left here, that's in England. Just to make it absolutely clear that this Egyptian occult knowledge is the centrifuge of all this sort of cabal power. We have on the left the Thames in England, on the right, obviously the Washington Monument. On the left, this is in Paris, another heavy Freemasonic center, and on the right in the Vatican itself, in Rome. All right. The more you know you don't know. I could have gone down so many tangents and rabbit holes, and forgive me if I did go down a few. I did try and bite my tongue there, but more to come on this, all right? But I want to finish on this. One last thought experiment, just to really help you sleep tonight, I ask you, who are you, and who does you being you benefit? All right? An example. 2 examples. I'm a married man of faith serving my country. Admirable. And I don't mean any offense here. I'm not dissing anyone. I'm just breaking this kind of down, okay? Marriage. What is marriage? Well, marriage is conditional love. Literally, right? Do you need a certificate to prove that you love the person that you're with or bearing children with? Or have you been guilt-tripped or just programmed into this abstraction idea of marriage, which was originally developed to coalesce power and land and resources and combine bloodlines? A lot of it was ancestral to begin with. But marriage, not only is it a social contract, and a contract is literally a set of conditions. Marriage being conditional love, a social contract is a set of conditions. Till death do us part. Not to mention our good friend the interpreter, i.e. the lawyer, coming in. It is contractual love. Okay? And it's not to say it's a bad thing. People that are married, if you're comfortable in your marriage, and who cares, whatever. But this is just, I'm just making it clear that this is an obstruction. All right? I'm a man of faith. Well, that's, again, admirable. These are good virtues, but what is faith? It's hoping the person you're listening to is right, or hoping you're not wrong. It's not knowing. So people who identify with their belief systems without even knowing that their beliefs are true, what is that? It isn't truly you. It's ignorance. I hate to say that, but that's what it is. If you're not at least open to being wrong, if that is what you define yourself as, okay? And finally, I'm serving my country. And again, my grandfather served in the military, so this is a soft spot. But, sir, yes, sir, just following orders, sir. Going to shoot a bunch of innocent civilians on orders that time and time again have been proven to be completely cynical. Do we still agree with the Iraq War? Vietnam, like any war? No. It's against our human nature, really. So just think about, who am I and who does that benefit? Who does you being married benefit? Apart from the divorce lawyer. Who does serving your country benefit? Do you know what I mean? I am a neurospicy lawyer looking for love. Well, neurospicy, gee. We hear that a bit often. Neurodivergent. Well, the amount of people that say they're neurodivergent, are you really divergent or are you all uniform? Understand, ADHD, I'm not going to go into it now, but we are all on a spectrum. We are all completely unique, and the point of us being here is to be the most unique version of ourselves. If you're ADHD or perceive yourself as ADHD because you can't concentrate, it's because you're doing stuff you don't want to do. It's because the system has designed this stupid thing where you have to do stuff that you don't want to do in order just to survive, And then you're constantly distracted, not thinking about the bigger picture. You know, you won't, if you're doing something you need to do, you don't need speed. You know what I mean? I mean, take speed on a Saturday when you go out dancing, sure, whatever. But you don't need, a 13-year-old boy or girl does not need speed just to go to school and learn the next day. If they're learning something they want to learn, I can guarantee you they don't need speed. I'll get onto the education system in another video. All right, a lawyer, we've discussed that. Interpreter, looking for love. That is a good thing, but look for that love within you. You know, a lot of people confuse this idea of in love or love as a dependence for someone else's love because they don't love themselves. Okay, that sounds harsh, and that's why breakups are so hard. I mean, if you love yourself, love is unconditional. But if you're dependent on somebody else's love for you, that makes it very difficult and causes very irrational behavior. Anyway, that one was fun. WOOMOO, woo-way. Next one, by the way, I figured out how to build a Stargate. So, like, share, and subscribe.